Welcome back to Pro Football Addiction. The Lions and the Commanders this weekend in the NFC Divisional round. Dan Campbell you wrote this, but Dan Campbell has made the Lions pretty likable. I don't know that anybody ever really hated the Lions. Obviously, they've got some rivalries within the division and stuff. I don't know that anybody really ever hated the Lions. Maybe just kind of felt bad for them. But everyone likes the Lions right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to root for a team that's, first of all, Detroit as a city hasn't had a ton of sports success in recent history, and the Lions have never had any, right? So, it's always fun to cheer for the underdog. And on top of that, I mean, who's got a more fun team right now than Dan Campbell going for every fourth down? You know, you got Jared Goff standing like a statue in the pocket, but slinging it around the field to a whole host of weapons, and Jahmyr Gibbs lighting it up. They're running hook and laterals in the middle of games. I mean, they're a fun team, right? So obviously there's no Packers or Bears fans cheering for the Lions this weekend. But, you got to think that pretty much everyone else whose team is out of the race is hoping for the Lions to go on a good run here.
Speaking of fun, Jayden Daniels, his early success, his success for a rookie has been pretty impressive. I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch too. And, we both live in Tampa or right outside of Tampa, but both big Bucks guys. And frustrating if you're a Bucks fan, but everyone else, I'm sure, enjoyed watching him last week. And as fun as he is, you wrote this again, plays pretty mistake-free. How impressed are you or have you been with him in this rookie campaign?
I'll tell you what really, I mean, I reacted a minute ago, just, like you brought up, showed my Bucks the door at home. I was a tough loss. But, talking about mistake-free football, I mean, that game, I think, came down to a handful of plays, 3-4 plays that were all ultimately mistakes the Bucks made and that the Commanders didn't, right? And a big part of that is Jayden Daniels just playing clean, mistake-free football. He takes what the defense gives him. I think he avoids the temptation you see from a lot of hyper-athletic quarterbacks. He doesn't run because he feels like he has to. He picks his spots based on the coverages he gets. Reads and reacts really quickly. He's really decisive with his legs and with throwing the football. He never looks thrown off or frazzled, caught off guard. Really just impressive poise, really clean decision making, and that's how you win football games in January, right? Is avoid mistakes, make plays, take the opportunities that are there, and he does that left and right. I mean, it's been a real sight to behold to me. Above the numbers and the fantasy production and the Rookie of the Year campaign, it's just how flexible he can be, right? If you put a spy on him and try to take away his legs, he's going to find the exposed area in the zone. He slices up man coverage with Terry McLaurin finally having the season I think everybody knew he could have with a really good quarterback. And just the running game to complement all that. They're a tough team to beat right now because he's not playing like a rookie. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they seem to find ways to win. Obviously, people think about the Hail Mary. The Bucks had the lead and they went down late and it was tied late, but the Bucks had the lead in the second half. They came back and they just find ways to do it. But certainly a challenge here playing a 15-win Lions team. Can Jayden, point blank, can he do enough against the best team in the NFC?
I think it's possible, right? This Lions defense is pretty beat up. And again, I wouldn't expect Daniels to make mistakes and for the Commanders to beat themselves. And, to his credit, we saw Dan Quinn last week, doing his best Dan Campbell impression as he's been doing for a lot of the season, willing to go for it on tight fourth downs and, make those decisions that push the envelope and give his team the best chance to win. So, against this defense, I'll tell you this, the over under in this game is 55.5. That's obviously a crazy high number, but it's kind of tempting to bet the over there. It's like it's hard to find stop signs for either of these offenses with either of these defenses. One thing I'll say for against the Commanders is the Bucks had their way throwing the ball last week. Baker Mayfield went 15 of 18, averaged over 10 yards an attempt. Really nothing they could do to slow him down throwing the ball outside of getting a little bit of pressure. So, it could be a classic shootout that we get, especially in the dome in Detroit, that perfect weather that they're not having to battle the wind and the rain and the snow that some of these other teams are this weekend. So I think it's possible. I line for this one's Lions -9. That's moved down. It opened at 10. I wouldn't be shocked if it comes down a little bit further, but I can't say that I kind of like the Commanders to cover with the points here, which feels crazy to bet on a rookie going on the road against the 1 seed, but Jayden Daniels isn't a normal rookie, so
yeah. We talked about this off air. If the Commanders play similarly to how they did against Tampa, it will limit possessions, a lot of time-consuming drives, a lot of ground and pound, and use the clock to their favor. You'd have to imagine that's the style of game they want to play, even against a beat-up Lions defense. The lower, if there are less possessions than more in this game, that has to favor Washington.
Yeah, the Lions, like the Bucks do, like to play a lot of zone defense, try to take away areas of the field. And I think one thing Daniels does really well is react to those coverages they develop throughout a game. And against the Bucks, he took stuff in the flats, a lot of screens underneath stuff early in the game. And as the Bucks adjusted, it opened up space in the middle of the field, and Daniels was happy to throw the ball down the middle of the field, right? So, I think you could see him have some success throwing the ball for sure. But for all the talk that we've made so far about Jayden Daniels and the Commanders and reasons to like them, I mean, this Lions team has been steamrolling people all year, right? And there's not a weak spot on that offense. They might have actually somehow gotten a little bit better with David Montgomery, who's a great running back, getting hurt, because now it just means you get more Jahmyr Gibbs, right? They're 3 or 4 deep on the outside, guys who can beat you through the air. And Sam Laporta, who had an elite rookie season as a tight end, was an afterthought this year, and their offense somehow got probably a little bit better. I mean, that's scary. You know what I mean? There's really no weakness on that offense. They block it up, they create space, they get the ball in the hands of their playmakers, and like I said, I'll be cheering for the Lions for the rest of this postseason just because they're so much fun and feel like they've waited over 50 years, as long as the Super Bowl's been around, to have success there. And you got to like them at home this week, even against a poised young team like the Commanders.
If you'd have told us that we were going to get, again, with our rooting interest in mind, if you'd have told us that we were going to get a doink to end the game, we probably would have felt pretty good about it. Unfortunately, that doink went in. But kicking a concern for Washington in this one. If it does come down to a close game again, certainly have to kind of wonder about that.
I think it has to be. Zane Gonzalez was out of the league for a few years there, came in to replace an injured Austin Seibert earlier this year. When you're hitting the goalpost to make it in from inside the 20 to win a game, makes you wonder, if you end up in a situation like that again, where's his head, right? Is he going to be able to cleanly execute in that moment? Bates for Detroit, coming from out of nowhere this year has seemed really calm under pressure, really getting it done. If it comes down to a late kick, I think you got to like the Lions. But I'll also say if it's coming down to a late kick and you're the Commanders, you take those odds right now, right?
Sure.
That means you're right there in it. You got a shot. So, a close game, it could go either way, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard to pick against the Lions, right? So,
yeah. Earlier you said you were probably leaning, or may even be leaning toward Washington to cover. I think in hearing you talk, picking the Lions to win. Let's ask this a little bit differently. What is your confidence level on a 1 to 10 that the Lions do end up getting this done and getting the win?
I'll say this: of all, for not as far as 9-point favorites go, I can see a path to an upset for the Commanders more than like it's hard to find a Texans route to beat the Chiefs with 8.5 points. You can see it for the Commanders, right? So I'd say a 7 or an 8 just because the Lions are so loaded up. But if you tell me next week that the Commanders just played clean football, Jared Goff threw an interception or two, and that Jayden Daniels just continued to grow the legend of his rookie season, that wouldn't surprise me a bit. That's as far as wild card teams led by rookie quarterbacks go, I don't think you can get more dangerous than the Commanders are right now. So.
Excited for it. Excited to see how it goes down. We have broken down the other NFC and AFC divisional games. You can find all of those here on the channel. So do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. We will talk to you soon here on Pro Football Addiction.